ProfessorBlackOps, Cybersecurity for the people. iPhone is leaking calls too. Alert, your iPhone is breached, leaking calls, and also has been hacked. It was actually an app of a phone call app that's on an iPhone. Let's look at the article. How confidential are your calls? This iPhone app shared them with everyone. Super quick. Don't panic. This isn't a case of a secret nation state phone interception methodologies or spying, as often it's called. It's not a tale of cyber criminals deliberately trying to listen in on your business discussions so they can divert massive invoice payments or implement ransomware with the multi-million dollar blackmail demands. That's the good news. The bug is in this case is discovered by an Indian cybersecurity researcher. Was merely a matter of bad programming or poor programming. The bad news is the side effects of the bug could pretty much have anyone exploited by anyone, anytime, and anywhere. Who need authentication? Authentication is actually logging into an app or logging into a system. The type of vulnerability that the cybersecurity person found often gets the fancy sounding name as IDOR, short for Insecure Direct Object Reference. An object vulnerability usually boils down to a website or service that makes it easy for someone who has watched the app in action when it's retrieving data that's supposed to be able to access. To figure out how to retrieve the people's data in the future without logging in or authenticating at all. Typically, you spot that an app or service using a URL, a web form that includes your own user ID or serial number or some other non-very secretive identifier. But another other way of being sure that it's you, you might then try mocking up a request with someone else's ID in it, the next number in the sequence, or some other likely guess at a valid reference, and find that the system retrieves directly for you, even though it's not your record and you shouldn't be able to view it. In this case, the app was called ARC, Call Recorder for iPhone, and like many App Store app, it is or was when we looked awash with hundreds, thousands of glowing 5-star ratings. So even though a lot of these apps have bad security, they still get a 5-star rating. You probably guess where they're going. Given that many of the 5-star reviews curiously recommends completely different apps in the text or praise the apps using particular terms on a phrase that puts forward unlikely and even worrying reasons. For example, someone called earnest assurance that it definitely wasteful if you haven't tried this application. While Christopher in 1966 said that he has used this small thing almost since they boarded the train. And Brenda somewhat creepily, if redundantly, expressed the delight that she can now record what, and my girlfriend said, a call recorder that couldn't record your calls will simply be misnamed. Even though it turns out that Brenda's referencing a completely different app that includes a voice change feature, makes you wonder if Brenda's girlfriend realized who she's talking to when she's being recorded. Brenda's 5-star review still counts toward the above mentioned call recorder app, attractively averaging a 4.25 in the rating out of 5 stars. So basically just saying be careful with those rating reviews when you try out the app. Sharing the calls with other people, it seems, was way easier than she thought. The direct reference to a user ID object. The cybersecurity decompiled the app to look for likely URLs that might connect to the monitor app while it was running, and noticed that once the call home request was blocked by JSON data looking something like this. That's a JSON call to an application. Was nothing to tie this request ID to a specific user who already authenticated. And no way for the server to decide whether the submitter of the request has the right to be asking for the data belonging to the user designated by the user ID. So when you send the JSON request to get your phone information back, there was nothing back linking it to you, so anybody could request it. So what to do? Here's our advice. A user Don't be swayed by the App Store or Google reviews. Consider using third-party mobile security software to complement the built-in protection of the device you use. As a programmer, follow the operating system's own recommendation for secure coding. Never stop learning and reading about cybersecurity. And remember, cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination. The link will be in the description. It has some other interesting things you should try. Once again, Professor Black Ops, cybersecurity for the people. Be careful with this app on your Apple iPhone.